could say that our train was like the last train that arrived the East safely, because as we returned, I heard the story of the other train that was full, that came after our own, how the people were stopped somewhere in Makurdi and massacred. So that was when I began to see, as I think back those days, I began to see God's life, God's hand in my life. Good evening, listeners. This is one in the series of videos on the story of my life. My name is Chief Cosmas Uzodimma. I hail from a small community called Umuoma in Ihituboma local government of Imo State. I was born really in those early post-colonial days in Port Harcourt by parents that had just joined the new economy. My father was first and foremost a worker in Costain West Africa, and my mother was then a housewife and a petit trader, even though she had done her standard 6. And thereafter, my father was posted to Keffi by the same company, Costain West Africa, where they came to construct the current Keffi. It was then Keffi General Hospital, which has now become the Nasarawa State specialist hospital, teaching hospital, so to speak. And they were also involved in the construction of a couple of bridges. That after that, he resigned from the company and became a businessman in Keffi and specialized in produce buying. I didn't know quite, I didn't have quite an experience in Port Harcourt because I was a baby then. But I have some vague picture of our arrival in Keffi, and we quickly met a new society. Keffi was then a cosmopolitan center. There were Yorubas, there were Fulanis, there were, of course, Keffi is a middle belt town. There were essentially houses. And then most of all, there were Gwaris. In fact, the house we lived in, my immediate community were some Gwari Christians. And if I wasn't Igbo, maybe I would have been a Gwari man. And it was good. The Christian life was interesting. My parents were Catholics, and they were among those who started the Catholic Church in Keffi. And then we could see the white men here and there. And I studied my primary school in St. William's Primary School in Keffi. It's still there. If you go to Keffi Stadium, the primary school opposite it, but it has deteriorated. But then it was quite an elite school. I can't forget my first day in school. It was very interesting, and I can guess that it was one Idoma or Igala Christian young boy. I could imagine how he was helping me to adjust my shirt and everything, and we were all some beautiful family together. And opposite our house in Keffi was a Yoruba man. I can't know his name now, but they used to call him Sarikin Dembe. And then here and there, so automatically the concept of Nigeria becoming one strong united country was evolving. But suddenly, the war broke out, and it was quite a great disruption. And we went home. I could say that our train was like the last train that arrived the East safely, because I can't, as we returned, I heard the story of the other train that was full, that came after our own, how the people were stopped somewhere in Makurdi and massacred. So that was when I began to see, as I think back those days, I began to see God's life, God's hand in my life. I continued my primary school at home. And then because of the bombings and everything, we were schooling under the trees. We stopped going to school in corrugated, under buildings with corrugated iron sheets, because for fear that the air raids could target those areas and bomb them. So we began to school under the foliage of trees in our communities. I didn't say anything wrong with it. It was fun because it was refreshing, and so on and so forth. We continued primary school, and then, like I said before, that was like 66 years ago. I'm 66 years old this year, and that has been a very interesting walk. We thank God for what the Lord has done, bringing us thus far. I come from a family, my parents, like I said before, we had about, as at that time, we were about 6 children. And as we came back home, one thing that was quite a challenge was that they began to conscript men to go into the war front. And because of that, all the young men, like people who were like 30, 35, 40, I guess that was about the age of my father at that time, they were hunted people. So they now ran away. They ran into the bush in order to escape being conscripted to join the Biafran army. And then taking care of the home fell on the women. And I give great thanks to God for my mother. My mother rose up and took the challenge herself, and she became like the pillar of the family at that moment. And before we knew it, she was rising so fast in the government of Eastern Nigeria of that time, becoming among those who ran around and made sure that the citizens had a good life. They involved in organizing the women for community, farming. My mother got into onion farming, got into so many things. My mother, she learned quickly. She was a brilliant woman and learned quickly. By the special grace of God, she became a distributor of a number of the Biafran agricultural services products, especially became the arm to teach the women new crops. Like we could now farm onions, special maize, and other things like that. So that was it. And also some of the displaced persons. My mother was involved in the administration of the people, most of the people who were displaced, making sure they had food, making sure, and especially Kwashoko people. Then there were the Catholic Church, through the Caritas, converted a number of parishes into places where children came to eat. At least they had one meal when Kwashoko was on the rise. So the Caritas established a nutritional program where children now gathered every day, once in a day, to be given food that was protein fortified. And before you knew it, most of those children that were looking malnourished began to turn around. These are the kind of memories I remember of my childhood days, especially, and we were, like I said, this was done under the auspices of the Catholic Church, and my mother became a leader in the Catholic Church from then on. Of course, she had been, while in Keffi, she was also a leader in the Catholic Women Organization. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new series of these video clips of the life stories of our testifiers. It's a testimony, actually. Chief Cosmas Uzodimma from Imo State Ehite, Oboma local government. You heard him say that the train that took his family from Keffi as a result of the war in 1967 to go back to the east was the last one that arrived safely. We're talking about the unseen hand of God guiding somebody's destiny. You will hear more from Cosmos as we roll on with the clips one after the other. Listen very carefully. You will see how God takes nothings and makes something out of them. Basically, that will be the storyline. Please give us your attention. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel and even to forward these clips to your friends. Be a part of what God is doing. The whole idea of telling these stories is to draw attention to the miracles and the signs and wonders that God is doing in the lives of people right now, in our days. Thank you very much for tuning in, and God bless you.